Over the past decade, research institutions, government agencies, and global organizations have documented a growing disconnect between the food people eat and the food system meant to sustain them. Now, as more data becomes public, consumers across the world are beginning to question the nutritional value of their food, the corporate concentration behind it, and the geopolitical forces shaping who eats and who does not. Experts say the shift is not cultural but factual. A series of scientific studies, UN reports, and agricultural analyses confirm that modern food is less nutritious than it once was, more heavily controlled by a few multinational corporations, and more entangled in global politics than at any time in modern history. Nutrient decline confirmed by decades of data. Scientific evidence shows that the nutrient content of common foods has fallen steadily. A landmark analysis from researchers at the University of Texas, published in the biochemical journal Davis et al. 2004, compared USDA data from 1950 and 1999 for 43 fruits and vegetables. The study found significant declines in protein, calcium, iron, riboflavin, phosphorus, and vitamin C. The report attributes these losses to modern high-yield crop varieties and soil depletion issues echoed by the Food and Agriculture Organization of the United Nations, FAO, which warns that one-third of the world's soils are moderately to highly degraded. Meanwhile, consumption of ultra-processed foods continues to rise. A BMJ Open study, Martinez, Steele et al. 2016, found that nearly 58% of calories in the American diet come from ultra-processed products, which the National Institutes of Health associates with higher rates of obesity, metabolic syndrome, and chronic illness. Consolidation in food and seed markets. The modern food system is shaped by unprecedented corporate concentration. According to a 2020 report from the ETC Group and a 2021 UNKD analysis, just 4 corporations, Bayer Monsanto, Corteva, ChemChina Syngenta, and BASF, control more than 60% of the global seed market. The same companies dominate the pesticide and fertilizer sectors. This consolidation has raised concerns among agricultural economists, who warn that dependency on a few suppliers reduces crop diversity, increases costs for farmers, and leaves entire nations vulnerable to supply disruptions. It's not simply an agricultural issue, UNCTAD notes. It is a strategic vulnerability. Food is a geopolitical tool. Experts in global security say food has become a strategic lever in international relations. Data from the FAO and World Food Program, WFP, show that dozens of countries rely heavily on imported cereals. Egypt imports more than 80% of its wheat, and Yemen more than 90% of its staple foods. When the Russia-Ukraine conflict disrupted Black Sea grain shipments, 45 countries in Africa and the Middle East faced immediate supply shocks and price spikes. Reports from the WFP 2023 state plainly, food insecurity can be exploited as a geopolitical pressure point. Academic reviews, including studies published by Johns Hopkins University's SAIS review, have also documented how food aid has historically been used to influence political alignments, debt structures, or voting patterns in international bodies. Public distrust and the rise of local food systems. A growing body of consumer research shows that the public is responding. According to the Edelman Trust Barometer, NUPSI 23, 72% of global consumers say they distrust major food companies and want greater transparency about sourcing and production. In the United States alone, home food production has surged. The National Gardening Association reports a 200% rise in households growing produce between 2008 and 2023, a trend linked to inflation, supply chain disruptions, and concerns about food safety. People want control over their food again, said a 2023 NGA spokesperson. Not for nostalgia, but for security. A new definition of food security. The concept of food security has evolved. The FAO now defines it as reliable access to nutritious, safe, and culturally appropriate food produced through sustainable systems. This differs sharply from earlier definitions that focused solely on calorie availability. Nations such as China, India, and Japan have restructured agricultural policies to increase self-sufficiency, while the U.S. Department of Homeland Security officially designates food and agriculture as critical national infrastructure. Policy analysts argue that the shift reflects a broader realization. A country dependent on foreign food supplies is a country exposed to political leverage. The awakening. As scientific data, institutional reports, and geopolitical analyses continue to emerge, more people are recognizing the stakes. They are learning that nutrient density has fallen not as rumor, but as documented fact. They are learning that the seeds of the world are controlled by a handful of companies, not as opinion, but as measurable market reality. They are learning that food supply chains are vulnerable to war, sanctions, and political decisions, not as speculation, but as demonstrated events. In short, consumers are waking up because the facts are finally visible. And as awareness spreads, so does a new question echoing across agriculture, policy, and public discourse. Who really controls what we eat, and what does that mean for the future of food security?